Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Living Astrology with Janet Hickox. It's time to grab your cup of coffee or your tea, sit back, and let's chat about what is happening up in the stars above for this weekend. The first weekend, no, I guess it isn't the first weekend in March. Really, we're already at the second weekend in March. Isn't that amazing? I can't even believe we're in March, much less the second week of March. Today, we are going to be chatting about all things sort of human design, mostly human design, and then as well, we just have one transit for the weekend of importance. So, if you have your human design chart with you, it would be a good time for you to have that so you can follow along, but also so that if I have some time today, I want to be able to take a look at some people's charts um, to see if I can help you figure out how to work with the energy of grace and mindset in your own life. Now, you want to remember that in human design, the week changes much quicker than it does on the calendar. We have a week that's usually 5 to 6 days at most, and it is cycling through the energy of the signs in the zodiac, but with a more specific focus in mind, right? So each gate tells us something about, let's say, the span of degrees that is going on in astrology. So we have more weeks and we have more energies that we can talk about when it comes to Pisces, let's say. So Pisces season is comprised of these set gates. And today, the gates change to the gate 47, the Earth in the gate 47, which is a gate that sits on the Ajna, the second center down from the top, the center that we think of as the mind and data and thinking, that type of thing. And the sun is at the gate 22, which is on the solar plexus, the center for emotional energy. And it adds to what is already a very emotional time with other planets already sitting at other gates on the solar plexus. And in this particular gate, we have some really deep emotional energy that's present in that the part of that channel that the gate 22 sits at has very high highs and very low lows. So it can take us through a journey of feeling low or depressed or feeling of melancholy or melancholic, right? So understanding how all of that plays out is also important because literally when we claim to be something, we use the affirmative I am or something like that. We're claiming that that's who we are. And on a week like this, where we have a lot of emotional energy coming up, if you are in the affirmative saying, I am depressed, you're creating more of a situation, you're embodying that energy. Whereas I feel depressed or I feel sad or I feel low or I feel fill in the blank is more appropriate because it's really just a feeling, right? The feeling is this specific thing, but I am not that specific thing. So I hope you guys get the difference there. So this gives us a chance then today to talk about the centers, the two centers involved, the ajna and the solar plexus. It gives us an opportunity today to talk about the two planets involved in the week's energy, the sun and the earth. Earth is something we talk about all the time in human design that we don't always talk about in the astrology world. We take it for granted it's there, duh, right? But we don't necessarily say, "Oh, yes, you're a Gemini, your Earth is in Sagittarius." We don't do that. But it is a part of the experience in astrology as well. And then we get to talk about the two gates that are involved, the 22 and the 47. So if you have your own chart with you, you can follow along with that and see how your own center is defined or not, see how those two gates are defined or not in your own personal chart. All right. So for a good part of this presentation, I think I will have my screen share on so you can see what the human design chart looks like. And if you have your own, again, that would be quite helpful. But before we go there, let's say good morning to people who are popping in early this morning. Good morning, Debbie Tibbetts Tumiel. It is good to have you with us. And my husband, Terry, good morning to you. Helping a woman in distress on the road this morning. I love it. He is always the one, right? If there, I can drive 10 times more than him, and I will never come across somebody in trouble on the road, but he will. And then he's there to help them. It's like he's this little angel in disguise who comes along and helps people. So it's always nice to hear, what he's doing out there. Diana, good morning to you. Barbara Doughton, good to have you with us. She says, Happy Friday, everyone. And yes, it is good to know that there are people out there that are kind and generous and helpful. And I saw somebody else out there, Amanda J. Hello, it's good to have you with us. Joan Durchie, good morning to you. Paulette Peasley, good morning to you. Tom, hello to you. He says, hello there, Astro Design family. Christine Buckingham, hello. And Nicole Markham, good to have you joining us this morning. And Connie Baker, hello. And Nancy Ross, good morning. So Tom says, way to act, Terry, right? He's always there. Johnny on the spot. So, and anybody else who's joined here that I haven't seen, good morning to you and welcome to the broadcast. And just a quick word to people out there. You may be noticing that you're getting more social media posts from me or more newsletter type information from me. And that's because I'm making a concerted effort. Oh, God help me. Making a concerted effort to get more information out there. But while my sidekick Asa and I are in the process of getting all of this organized, you may get multiple posts. You may get a feeling like it's too much. Please let us know if that's the case, if you're feeling like overwhelmed with the information that's coming out, because all of this is sort of in practice, let's say, right, for me. And I don't know really how much is enough. Some people I get consistently information from every day, 2 or 3 times a day. It can become too much and annoying. But if you're okay with it all, then I would enjoy hearing from you about that. Or Asa can also field those questions and answers as well. So it might take us the rest of this month to iron out, that process of getting new information out to people. All right. So let me share my screen and let's dive into grace and mindset this morning. And just a moment here while the screen pops up and I can clear this out a little bit. All right. So hopefully what you're seeing now is a human design chart. Let me make sure that is what you're seeing. Yes, indeed. All right. And all right, so we're starting with what the energy centers are. So each of these geometric shapes here is called an energy center. And each one, it acts sort of like a chakra in the more, Hindu sense of energy. Their energies and each center fields a specific kind of energy. So for example, the ajna here is in the mind, and it can represent our mindset. It can represent our thinking processes. It can represent the data and memory recall, our ability to compare and contrast. So it really represents kind of all things to do with the mind and our thinking. And so every one of the gates on the ajna, and these little numbered areas are called the gates, have something to do with thinking or with processing information. And the gate 47, which is defined this week, starting today from the 7th through the 12th, this particular gate is called the gate of mindset. So it literally has to do with the mind and a whole lot of other things, which we will launch into here shortly. So then we have the sun sitting here at the solar plexus. And the solar plexus is the center for emotional energy. So, and also some creative energy. And every one of the gates here has something to do with the emotional state. And it is this center, by the way, that is undergoing an evolutionary change. And by 2027, we should start to note the changes in that center. And this can be the center where we use emotional energy in reaction to triggers in our outer world. So somebody says something, does something, something happens, and it gets equated with an emotion that then we are able to react to or respond to. Reaction being the one that we want to release, and response meaning the ability to, stop before you react and think about what you're doing, or breathe, come back to your center, and then decide from a responsive position how you're going to respond to the emotional energy. So, the emotional energy center or solar plexus is also the energy for creativity. And something that a lot of people don't understand, I think, about the emotional center is that it operates in waves, and emotional energy, like water, operates in waves, right? And it can sometimes bring us the high where we're just joyful and expressive and happy go lucky. And then that wave begins to shift and it moves down into the lower energy or the lower vibration, where then we can become more pensive or more melancholic, and or some people interpret that as being depressed, and then it rises again, right? And sometimes that wave is quick, right? It's moving at a periodicity that's fairly quick. So you might have lots of different inputs from the emotional center during a day or a week. And other times it's moving very slow up to the high and then very slow back down to the low, right? So it has a more even sort of rise and fall. And then other times, the third wave is a rise to the top and then a precipitous drop to the bottom, right? Where you are suddenly, like 5 minutes ago I was happy and now I'm depressed, right? Or I feel depressed, the appropriate way to work that energy. But creativity works the same way, right? Creativity is also like the gestation period of a baby, where it's implanted and it's growing and it's growing and it's growing, and then it's birthed and then it drops, right? Until the next creative energy comes up again and it gets to the top and it's, released and then it drops. And that's the natural wave of creative energy. I mean, that's just how it works. If we were all creative all the time and we're always up here at the top, well, where would be the time for us to consider what it is that we wanted to do, or where the idea comes to light and we start to work on how it is that we want it to be expressed? That is what happens here in the emotional center. And you'll notice that the 22, the one that we're working with today, is one that will have the energy make it up to the throat when there's something at gate 12. And that means that these emotions can become something that gets expressed. So, again, something to be watchful for, because if you're reactive to the energy of this gate, then what makes it to the throat may or may not be what you wanted to get to the throat center. So we got to be watchful here. Now, the function again of the solar plexus is all about emotional energy and sensitivity and waves of feeling. And if it's a defined center, meaning it's colored in like I've colored it in here, um, emotional authority exists in your own personal chart. So if you take a look at your human design chart, if you see it colored in, then it is energy that is being broadcast by you, right? You experience natural waves of emotional energy, and it can be different waves, right? Some people I've seen have like a lot of energy on their emotional solar plexus. So they consequently experience several different waves at any given time. They might experience the faster wave, the slower one rise to the top with the slower fall to the bottom, and as well the high and then the precipitous drop. So, those people are extremely emotional, and others might have an undefined solar plexus. In that case, this center would be white. And if that center is white, it means that you amplify the emotions of others, right? So it leads to potential emotional overwhelm for you, because this isn't your natural state, right? Your natural state isn't one of emotional broadcasting. And yet it can be a place where you get conditioned to believe that you are emotional or that these emotions are yours. So that's the first step. Take a look at your human design chart right now and determine whether this center is white or is it colored in, right? That tells you right there. And the key lesson from the solar plexus is about the fact that emotional clarity takes time. And it takes time because it flows in waves, right? It has highs and it has lows. And even on the quicker wavelength, we still need time to consider what it is you're really feeling. And it's in the heat of emotion that you need to ride the wave and until you reach this point of clarity. Once you've reached clarity, then you can express. But up until that point, especially if you have this center defined or colored in, you have to ride that wave. And it's the heat of the emotion, right, that you're wanting to um, avoid, let's say. Because in this moment, you might feel, let's say somebody comes to you and offers you this awesome job. In the moment, you might be so excited that finally somebody's offered me this job that you say, "Yes, I'll take that job." But then as the day wears on, the emotional energy shifts, and now you're like, "Oh, maybe that doesn't sound so good after all. Maybe that's not what I really want." Or, you start to question. And then later in the day, that answer comes back and you're like, yeah, I think that might be a really good job. But if you answered yes or no right in the very beginning, you won't have made it through your emotional wave to really get clarity about whether it is right for you or not. I hope this is all making sense. I'm going to check back in StreamYard real quickly. No questions. Okay, good. So I'm going to go on here and talk about um, the ajna. So here's the ajna, the second center down. And the ajna is the center for conceptualization, perception, and intellectual awareness, right? It's the brain, if you will, right? In the head center, we're receiving inspiration or ideas or incoming cosmic awareness. But in the ajna, that's where we begin to think it through, where we begin to try to answer the questions that get triggered from the head center. So the ajna is about thinking, and some people may have it defined where it's colored in like this, and others may have it open where it's white, right? It doesn't have, it might have some energy on the gates hanging on it, but it isn't defined. Now, if you have a defined or colored in ajna, you have a consistent way of thinking and analyzing and forming opinions, right? It's what we call certainty. You have certainty about the way that things go through your mind, right? And if you have an undefined ajna where this center is white, you have more of a fluid and adaptable sort of thinking, but you are also feeling pressured often to figure things out and to figure it out quickly, or to prove that you have mental certainty about something, even though that's not correct for you. So, the key lesson that we have when we're dealing with the ajna is that it's not meant to make decisions, right? I always tell people that the thinking is up here, right? Thinking and comparing and contrasting, etc. But decisions aren't made from up here. It can't be, right? It just can't be because it's only awareness. The decisions are all made from, down here in the lower part of the body. Okay. It processes information here in the ajna, but true clarity really comes from the body's authority, whether that's the solar plexus, the spleen, the sacral, or the identity center, sometimes ego in some types, etc. Now, the gate 47, this is the placement of the earth this week, teaches us to trust the process of insight or the epiphany rather than getting stuck in overthinking, overanalyzing, or trying to force answers before they naturally emerge. So the 47 is absolutely um, helpful if we understand how mindset works with the grace of the gate 22. So here's a question for you, and think about this in terms of your own life and your own knowledge of your human design. Where do you feel pressure to figure things out in your life? And can you relax into the process instead of forcing clarity? Because that's the thing, right? We often feel the pressure here in this center to make that decision. So, how do these two centers work together? Right? That was a question that I always had about human design. Okay, so the sun is down here at gate 22 grace, and the earth is up here at gate 47 mindset. So, how do these two centers work together? Well, the solar plexus teaches us to go with the flow of emotional energy and to cultivate grace, literally grace here in the 22, which we are going to go through more detail here in a few minutes. And the ajna reminds us that mental clarity unfolds when we trust inspiration rather than forcing answers, right? Rather than forcing the mind to figure it out. And together, then, these two centers this week invite us to stay present in this now moment, to allow emotions to move naturally, and to keep our mindset open rather than stuck in doubt. Now, this can be relatively easy or difficult depending on how your own ajna is defined or not, and how your own solar plexus is defined or not. But the key takeaway here, for at least as it relates to these two as centers this week, is that emotions influence our thoughts and that our thoughts shape our emotions. So, by mastering emotional grace, which we're going to get into here in just a minute, um, and m marrying that, if you will, to an open mindset, then we align with our highest potential rather than getting caught in old patterns of thinking and, old patterns of, emotional reactivity, let's say. Alright, so I'm gonna go back to StreamYard. Have you guys taken a look at your own charts at this point to see how it is that yours is defined or not? Um Good morning to you, Miss J Lo. She says that 22 is her culture. Culture, of course, is a word that comes from the gene keys. And if 22 is your culture, this is something that you are embodying as well in your life. It's important. It has an important role to play in your life, J Lo. And hopefully, you guys. I don't see any other questions. I sometimes miss questions because I don't scroll back far enough, but I don't see any other questions about this. But if you have them, feel free to put them in this chat and I'll come back to that. And if you are on Facebook, you might not be able to. Yeah, if you're on Facebook, you should still be able to comment. So let me know how you're doing out there. Tom says both 22 and 47 are open. Okay, so let me go back to my share screen here. And if you have the center open, it's going to look something like this. This ajna may or may not be defined for you, Tom, but certainly the gate 47 is open for you naturally. And the same thing here, the gate, oops, there we go, the gate 22 is open for you. And that means that right now, this week, starting today, this gate becomes defined and this gate becomes defined. So now you're working with energies that are not natural to you. And depending on whether you have the gate 64 defined or the gate 12 defined, it may complete a channel and give you access to more energy than you would normally have access to. And this happens all the time, of course, in our human designs as planets transit and complete channels. Like, for example, in my own chart, I have the gate 12, it's where my sun sits. So today and for the next 5 days, I have this entire channel of emoting or emotional awareness defined. Right? Emotional energy is reaching the throat center for me this week. And I'm not sure if you have anything at gate 12, Tom, but if you do, that same thing might be happening to you. On the other hand, if it just becomes a hanging gate, which it could be, right? It might just look like this for the whole of the week, then it will play out with other people in your life. right? Other people who have either gate 64 defined or gate 12 defined, giving you the opportunity to work with emotional clarity and grace, or to take a look at what's confusing you in terms of your mindset. And some of that might become clearer as we go into the next part of the presentation this morning. Let me go back. Oops, that's not where I wanted to go. I want to go here. Jeannie Vibes, good morning. 4764, my one defined channel. So Jeannie, um, your so in your case, if you have a planet already sitting at the gate 47, whatever planet that is now being extra charged by the sun or the earth, excuse me, the earth's placement there for you this week. So now you're being asked to ground in confusion through waiting for the epiphany or the revelation or the aha moment to come to you. And, it's difficult with the 64 because the 64 we call confusion in traditional human design. In quantum human design, I want to say that that one's now called divine transference. So divine transference means something like this: an idea drops in without the manual on how it is that you're meant to do anything with that idea. And what you'll attempt to do is figure it out. What do I do? How do I do it? When do I do it? Who do I do it with? Like all those questions start to come up. And yet, with the 47, the opportunity that's really clear for you is to wait and be patient, because in the right moment, at the right time, the confusion will clear, right? That'll be like that epiphany moment that suddenly, whoa, that's what I meant to do with this idea. All right. I hope that's helpful. So you're just adding more energy to it is how I would put that. Nancy Ross, my 22 and 47 are full. 47 is my gift. Also says I have a left angle cross of informing. And that's an interesting place for that to be, because the left angle cross of informing is about learning to, before you take action, right? There needs to be this opportunity for you to inform the people that will be impacted by whatever decisions you're making. It's a sort of manifester kind of feeling, although you don't have to be a manifester to, if that channel is, or if your incarnation cross is the cross of informing, you're still learning about how to let people know what it is you're doing before you do it. Because I bet you also appreciate it when people let you know what they're doing before they do it, as in, you don't necessarily like surprises or shocks. You'd much rather be prepared mentally, emotionally, for things that are going to change. And the people in your life that you work with or that you live with or that you interact with, they also are expecting sort of that information from you as well. So, and informing, by the way, doesn't mean you're asking permission. It's more like, I'm just letting you know I'm going to be out of town for a week, so I won't answer emails, except once a day, something to that effect, right? So, learning that is a skill that will help you maintain good relationships in your life there, Miss Nancy. And Jeannie Vibes, yes, confusion. Yeah, it's such an interesting gate. You know why? Because it's open to God, if you will, right? Or to the cosmos. And it means that you're kind of, you think of the 64 as this giant antenna, and this antenna is capable of bringing in all kinds of info, and maybe from other people, just from the cosmos. And when it comes in, you don't always know what to do with it. And so that's what triggers the confusion, because the mind begins then, especially because the 47 is defined, it begins to try to con- to contain it, to categorize it, to put it in perspective, to figure out being the key word here or phrase. What do I do with this information? What do I do with this aha? Uh, and likely you can't do anything with it until that epiphany takes place or that revelation energy takes place. And that takes as long as it takes, right? You can't, there's no amount of being able to force that to come to the surface. And sometimes that aha or that information that comes in isn't even for you. It might turn out that that's meant for you to share with others. And again, I wouldn't know that until I actually got to look at your head and your ajna, especially if you, for example, had the gate 43 defined as well, because the 43 has insight. It has, you know, really good information that it wants to share with others, but it tends to want to share it at the wrong time with the wrong people when the thoughts aren't fully formed yet. And then it goes flat, right? With others, it goes nowhere and begins to make you think that you don't have good ideas and so forth. So, looking at the full impact of your ajna would be very helpful for you, Jeannie. And I believe your name is Karen. So sorry, I didn't mean to call you Jeannie, but that's what it says on your thing. Okay, let's go on now to talk about the role of the sun and the earth, because that's the other thing. What is the sun bringing us? So, the sun in your natal astrology or your natal human design, they have basically the same focus, and that's your core expression. It is your life's work, essentially. And the sun in human design represents your purpose and your primary lesson that you are here to embody. So take a look at the sun. If you have the sun at the gate 47, you're here to master the mindset. If you have the sun at the gate 22, you're here to master, in some ways, the idea of emotional energy and grace. We'll again talk more about that in just a minute. And it's like your spiritual spotlight. And it influences how you shine and how you express yourself in the world. And this week, with the sun sitting down here at the gate 22, it's emphasizing emotional presence, refinement, and the art of navigating emotional energy with dignity and grace. It's temporary, right? So if you're someone who has it defined, then this adds extra energy for you for the week. If you are someone who does not have it defined, then this is new energy that you are, along with the collective, dealing with for this week. Now, the earth represents what keeps you stable, what grounds you, or what helps you stay balanced and aligned. And it's the energy you must master and integrate in order to fully express the sun's potential. So it would sort of seem like, in order to master grace in your emotions, we would have to master our mindsets first, right? So, and integrate, the whole thinking process in a way that aligns emotionally. So, with this week, the Earth at gate 47, we're being reminded that mental clarity and perspective are totally essential in order to have emotional grace, right? And again, we'll talk more about that. So, essentially, then, when we embrace the lessons of the Earth, we unlock the highest expression of our sun. So, it's super duper important to understand that relationship between the sun and the earth. And every week, we're offered up a new version of something to master within ourselves. And if it's defined already for you, it's another layer. If it's an open for you and now becomes defined, it's something new for you to try to integrate into your experience as a human. And the role of the sun and earth, then, they work together to help us, live our life purpose in alignment with our higher selves, and to integrate the energies that it is that we're learning at the time, or at for that particular week. And then it passes on to another gate for the sun and the earth, and a new lesson is born, right? So if you pay attention to your mindset this week, right? What's going on in my mind, and how does it trigger my emotions? And alternatively, what am I feeling, and how is that impacting my mindset, right? Because they work hand in hand. And one of the things that we've all learned about manifesting what we desire in our life is, it's not just a mind oriented thing. Your mind and your emotional self have to be aligned so that you can take the appropriate action to manifest what it is that you want in your life, right? Don't forget that mind emotion, action. They are all required. And the mind and the emotions definitely must be aligned. If you're thinking thoughts about, oh, I can't have that, I'm not good at that, I won't be able to do that, but your emotions are like, I really want this, I really want to go there, I really want to have this stability or this thing or this feeling, you won't take the right steps because they're not in alignment. It has to be in alignment. All right. So ends that lesson. Okay. So the sun in the 22 is kind of activating a temporary collective theme, and the earth is activating a temporary need to stabilize certain energies. All right, so hopefully that's helpful to all of you. I'll take a look back and see if there are questions. And yes, daughter has 47 as her pearl. Ooh, interesting. She's breaking everything down into meaningful thought processes. And yes, I'll see you soon. Not today, but soon when you get back. I think you were on vacation or something or out of town. All right. Now let's go on to break down grace and mindset. So, what is grace? Because I think when I when I was first, I'm going to stop sharing for just a minute. When I was first learning human design, um, sometimes I felt like the words meant nothing, right? Words are tricky that way. And grace was one of those words, right, that got me. I was like, well, what does this mean? And how does that apply to the emotional field? And having a definition of what grace means can be very helpful. So I'm going to give you a definition of grace this morning as it's expressed in the gate 22 in your human design. And it is the refined ability to navigate emotional energy with elegance, dignity, and presence. All right. So let me say that again. Grace is the refined ability to navigate emotional energy with elegance, dignity, and presence. And it's part of the solar plexus center, which governs those emotional waves, the highs and lows. And it really represents how we hold and express emotions in a way that is transforming our experiences into beauty or into art or into wisdom rather than chaos or reactivity. So, this is an important gate, and understanding what grace means is very important. So here's some key aspects of grace, if you will. One is emotional refinement. Grace is not about suppressing emotions that are ugly or that you don't want. It's not about that at all. It's really about experiencing all of that fully, but with awareness and poise and authenticity. And those who have the gate 22 defined often influence others through the emotional frequency that they're kind of broadcasting or emitting. So it's very important if you have it defined to understand that mood and emotional energy is super important because you're broadcasting that, and other people with the open emotional center are picking up that emotion. It is also about magnetism and presence. The energy here creates a sort of natural charm and natural charisma, and it draws people in, through the way emotions are expressed. So the emotional energy at the gate 22 can be magnetic, right? When you're feeling joyfulness or you're feeling upbeat and positive, it's a magnet to draw people who want more of that for themselves or who are naturally that way themselves, right? But on the other hand, in its highest form, that's what that looks like. In its lower form, you could be emitting anger or, confrontational energy. Then you're drawing situations to you that are more like that, or drawing people to you who are also angry or confrontational or upset. So the emotional energy here, it's really important for us to have it clear in our minds what it is that we are feeling. Like, what is the energy in that feeling of grace? Is it grace? Is it anger? What is it? And it can become then the shadow of moodiness. And, that's the nature of the emotional center. It's about moods and how they flow, right? Moods can be high, low, high, low, high, low several times during the day. Moods can be high, 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 low, 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 low. And it could be another one. It could be high, 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 low, right? These are the waves, right? That the emotional center goes through. And grace moves in that emotional wave. And because it's rooted in the solar plexus center, it is kind of transmitted to us through the moods, right? Or through the feelings that we have. And it can manifest as emotional volatility, withdrawal, or feeling unworthy, and or unworthy of connection, let's say, if it's misaligned. On the other hand, when it is aligned, then it is the opposite, right? We're feeling connected, we're feeling, maybe very charismatic and very bold, even in some ways, to carry out the work that we're doing. Now, there's also expression through art and beauty. Remember, I said that the solar plexus is also a center for creative energy. And it means that grace often finds its expression, its highest expression, through music or poetry or storytelling or other artistic forms, or, any beautiful way of speaking, because its outlet, of course, is up to the throat center, the center for communication. And the gate 22 is known for its ability to transform pain into beauty, right? Think of the great artists that, there have been that have this emotionally turbulence, or terrible emotional feelings that get put on the art medium and become great works of art, right? Whether that's their, like a Van Gogh, transmitting his pain, or somebody else who's transmitting something beautiful that they're experiencing. But that's what the 22 can do, right? It expresses that way. And this is also a gate about the grace to allow life to flow. At its core, grace is about surrendering to the natural rhythm of the emotions and trusting that clarity will come from them. It may not be in this moment that you have clarity about why it is you're feeling what you're feeling, or what triggered you to feel what you feel. But if you're willing to process through that, and instead of, blasting that emotion outward to others, then you get to the joy and the beauty in this particular gate. And those who are aligned with this gate learn to trust the process instead of controlling forced feelings or forcing themselves to feel something that they don't feel, right? It becomes fake. It becomes very obvious that someone's trying to be something that they're not. So let's talk about grace in action then, the gate 22. And again, these are either parts of your life that you recognize because you have those gates defined, or this gate defined, or you'll notice during this week because you don't normally have this energy defined, but now it's there in your face and available for you to work through. In the low expression of the gate 22, we have mood swings, withdrawing, emotional unpredictability, feeling misunderstood. That would be your cue that it's not time yet to speak, or it's not yet time to express, or it's time to express, but in a more introspective way, right? It's the timing thing with the emotional center sometimes, right? Because it flows in waves, right? So we have sometimes where we're on the high and other times when we're feeling more low. And to know that is to be able to help yourself with expression, when to say something and when to hold back saying something. In the balanced expression of the gate 22 grace, we have emotional presence, we have creative self expression, we have natural charisma, and being at peace with life's flow. We're not forcing or pushing, we're allowing. And its highest expression, we have profound emotional wisdom, wisdom that transforms pain into beauty and radiates warmth and serenity and approachability. Um, we could even have a mantra. I'm going to actually type the mantra out because I really loved this mantra. And here's the mantra for the week for this gate. It is, I trust my emotions as a natural flow, allowing them to move through me with ease and wisdom. All right, and I'm going to share that on the screen as soon as I type it, and I'm going to show it. Boom. I trust my emotions as a natural flow, allowing them to move through me with ease and wisdom. So, how do you work with this gate 22 this week? Whether you have it defined naturally or not, there's extra added energy there for you if it's defined. It's new energy for you, perhaps, if it's not. So, be mindful of how you express emotions. Do you react or do you respond with grace? Right? Reactivity is the key here that we want to learn to not do. Right? We don't want to be reactive. We don't want to knee jerk and create havoc in our life, in our relationships and so forth. Use creative outlets like music or art or poetry or movement this week to channel emotional energy constructively. If you're feeling really angry, a good thing to do is to get out and do something in the yard or go for a walk or a run or exercise, something that's going to move the energy through your body. And then on the other hand, honor your emotional waves. Allow those feelings to rise and fall naturally. Don't fight them, right? Don't fight the feeling because that just makes it more difficult for you to go through this particular transit. All right. Questions. How long is the gate 22 transit? It is from the 7th of March to the 12th. All right. So 5 days. 5 days for the moment until another planet comes there that might sit there longer. Um, who knows how long that will be, right? All right, let's go on to the gate 47 then. The 47, again, remember up in the ajna, pointed up toward the head center. And this is the gate of mindset. And it is about regulating the mind. Sometimes people say, I just keep thinking about this and this and this. And I'm like, but who's thinking those thoughts? Who's in control of those thoughts, right? Who is the one thinking? It's you or me, right? It's us that is thinking the thoughts. So that means we also have the ability to change the thought or stop thinking the thought. And that's what this gate is all about, right? What is the thought? It represents the pressure that we might feel to figure out how something will happen. And, because the ajna governs mental processing and conceptualization, this gate can hold the tension between inspiration and uncertainty, right? The challenge is to trust that the answers will come in in the right time, right? In the right way, when the right people are there, or when the right pieces are on the chessboard and aligned in your favor. And that we have to understand that with this connection from the 47 to the 22, that clarity isn't immediate. It takes time, right? So giving yourself some patience here as well. So the key aspects of the gate 47 mindset is about the pressure to figure things out. And you know what I'm talking about, right? Tell me down there in the comments, have you ever had a pressure feeling to figure out how to do something, when to do something, when to have a conversation with someone? That is the pressure that's coming, likely from somewhere in your ajna, to figure it out, or it's actually coming in from the head center down into the ajna. And this gate constantly seeks solutions, clarity, understanding, and it creates that internal push to make sense of the ideas or of the inspiration that you've received. And when we can balance this gate, it can lead to breakthroughs and epiphanies. If unbalanced, it can spiral into mental overwhelm and doubt and contraction where we pull inward, we pull away. Um, and that's because mindset determines whether we're going to be in an expansive mode or in a contraction mode, right? You do understand that, right? Your thoughts are an attractive force nonetheless, right? Even though it takes both mind, emotion, and action to create or manifest in life, your mindset is very important. Gate 47 teaches us that your attitude or our attitudes help shape our ability to move forward, right? If you're down, it's going to be very hard for you to take appropriate next steps. So, one part of the equation is missing. And if you focus on possibility instead, ideas will continue to evolve. But if you get stuck in the I don't know how, we call this gate sometimes the gate of stinking thinking. I remember Karen Curry Parker, who I've learned from, she used to always call this in the beginning. I haven't heard her say it lately, but as she's evolved, we used to think of this as the stinking thinking gate, where we could get caught in this loop of not positive thinking, right? Or of unpositive thinking. So if you get stuck in the I don't know how, inspiration may fade, it may contract, it may become elusive. And the more elusive it becomes, it can trigger you to try to think more and more about how to figure this out. And it becomes this endless, anxiety creating mental pressure, right? So the shadow of this particular gate can be also about giving up too soon, right? If it's unbalanced enough and you got caught in this mind, you may just give up, right? The idea isn't worth working on, or I don't know how to do what I need to do, so I'm not going to do, right? That kind of thing. You can quit on an idea before it has a chance to manifest. Maybe you're feeling defeated and broken because you can't figure it out. That's a thinking thing. And letting uncertainty stop you from taking action. Like, I don't know how this is going to turn out. But on the other hand, if you don't try, you won't know, right? So it can become a stuck place, a paralysis point almost in the chart. And the mastery of the gate 47 in its highest expression here. This is about embracing hope and inspired thinking. And the true lesson of this gate is about staying open to possibility, even without knowing the full path forward. Even if you don't know, how is this going to turn out? Trust that clarity comes in divine timing, and that inspiration itself is a catalyst for shifting emotional energy and aligning with the heart. All right. So the 47, very powerful gate in the mind for thinking and calculating and all of that. Now, with the sun in the 22 and the earth in the 47, this week invites us to align with emotional frequency and mental expansion. All right, grace teaches us to flow with the emotions, while mindset challenges us to stay open to inspiration rather than shutting it down and shutting it down due to uncertainty, like, I don't know. Together, these two gates this week should help us to trust both the emotional process and the unfolding of ideas, right? The ability for us to move through the ups and the downs of the emotional center. And then that helps us to process emotional energy and maybe even recognize emotional patterns that we have and to shift the mindset that we are in. The ajna as a center, the second center down, is the hub of thought processing and perception and conceptualization. So the gate 47, realizing patterns in the thoughts, right? Patterns in your mind. It holds the pressure of trying to make sense of the past and then to extract the wisdom from the past and from past experiences. But if you're caught in that thought process of every time I try to do X, this happens, right? Every time I step outside of my comfort zone, I feel blank. These are patterns perhaps in your thinking that you can deal with, right? That you can actually bite size yourself into and, process through it, release it, change the thinking pattern, which changes the emotion, or change the emotion, which can then help change the thinking pattern. It's a loop, right? And the challenge is that overthinking can get you caught in the negative loop, while uplifting thoughts can move you into a more positive loop. So the breakthrough is what we're after with the gate 47, the aha, the epiphany, and it comes when you stop trying to force an answer to come. and allow the insight to just arrive naturally. All right. Now, let's see. Is there anything else I wanted to share with you here? I think that's it for that. We have one transit this weekend that is a good one, and that is the sun, excuse me, not the planet sun, the sun in a trine, which is a positive relationship to Mars. The sun is in Pisces, Mars is in Cancer, both water. So a trine is an ease and flow between the two pieces, the two aspects. And so sun trine Mars is inspirational, right? I think it adds to the potential for us to be inspired even in the face of the gate 22 and gate 47 in our human design. And the sun is, your core essence. Now, your core essence is aligning with the inspiration possibly coming up now that Mars is no longer retrograde. You might have more clarity about what you're feeling in the sign of Cancer. It's intuitive as well. So, are you feeling inspired? Likely this is a good weekend for feeling that inspiration and taking action on that inspiration, right? It is a very good feeling. The one thing you want to watch out for, though, is getting carried away. This is emotional energy, by the way. Pisces, water, Cancer, water, water emotion, water intuition. So watch out for getting overly emotional or expressing that emotion in a negative way, such as what we've just been through with grace and with mindset. And yet, it is holding the potential for some real movement in our personal lives around um, emotions, intuition. There's an aspect here too of high spirituality. Taking a more spiritual view of everything that's going on around you, in the world around you, in your own personal life, and that type of thing. So it really seems like a really good weekend, excuse me, for this energy to expand, for your intuition to expand, and so forth. All right. Let's go back here. Grace is my favorite word, Chester's mom said. By the way, good morning. And Christine says, power went out and just came back on. Grateful for replays. Wow. Are you having a storm over there, Christine? Um, I got to tell you guys, we had such a beautiful day here yesterday. It's the kind of day that reminds me of why I live in the Pacific Northwest, right? The sun was bright, it was sparkling on the water, and I mean, it was only 49 degrees, so it wasn't exactly warm, but the sun shining on the front of my house, I was just like sitting in meditation on my front porch. Um, and I was quite warm even though the temperature was cool because the sun was shining on me. It was such a gorgeous day. And today is the exact opposite, cloudy and foggy. Likely it's going to rain, but why it's so beautiful, right? It was funny listening yesterday. Everybody had their mowers out, and every house around me, they were all mowing. It's like, oh, spring is ready to spring. Okay, if you have any other questions, go ahead and pop them down there. Um, I'm going to try to figure out here what kind of card to draw for us this morning. I think I want this one. Ah, Intuitive Whispers, right? Because there is a very powerful watery feel to the energy. And this is a deck I got a couple months ago that we haven't used all that much. So let's see what the card for the weekend might be. I love the inside of the deck. Here it says, "You are wiser and more brilliant than you know. Be still, take a breath and listen. Your intuitive whispers are guiding you." That's just on the inside of the cover of this deck, which is by Maud Hurst. All right, let's get that one. Tap into your sacral power. This is a beautiful card. Tap into your sacral power. It is card number 6. 6 numerologically is a number of balance. It is very intuitive energy, um, and seeks connection, right? 6 seeks connection. Tap into your sacral power. It's time to get powerful. Your sacral energy center is calling to be activated so it can support you in this next part of your journey. This is your sexual energy. It lies deep in the lower belly, below your belly button, and is often forgotten about or confused. This energy is not simply related to sex or sexuality or attracting a partner. It's your creation energy that can be used internally as fuel and power. If used correctly, it will become your greatest support. It is time to explore the sacral center so you can use the full power of your intuition. If you've been feeling low in energy recently, it is because you have disconnected from this force that lies within you. How to tap into your sacral power. Find a quiet space and play your favorite music. Place your hands on your lower belly and close your eyes. Stand with your feet wide apart so you feel strong throughout your body. Breathe down into the lower belly, expanding into your hands as you inhale and softening on your exhale. When you feel comfortable, begin to move from your hips. Move in a way that feels intuitive to your body. It doesn't matter what it looks like. This is you slowly tapping into this internal power and trusting it. Be brave and move like no one is watching. The color in this energy center is orange. As you continue to breathe and move from the hips, visualize this color moving through your body. Feel the activation of your sacral center. Notice that the body feels more connected and powerful. This is your sacral power. There we go. That's our card for the weekend, which in human design, the sacral or sacral is the energy of doing and being, not just doing, but also the energy of being. All right, you guys, that is it for me today. I will see you on Monday when we have a heck of a week coming up. It is a week that has the full moon lunar eclipse. It has Mercury's retrograde in it, along with several other transits. So be prepared. Monday, bring your astrology chart to the broadcast because you'll want to see where this is happening for you. That's it for me today. Have a nice weekend, everybody. Bye.